Yesterday we spoke about why the Jewish people are called gold, or more exactly, why is it that when God requested from the Jewish people that they bring free will offerings, donations to the tabernacle, the first thing he listed was gold. Although gold was not the most valuable thing, there were the diamonds and other jewels, and gold was not the most prevalent thing. There was much more copper and silver. So why gold? So the Rebbe said, because to tell you that we're using this to build a holy temple. And the reason, the explanation, how it can be that Jewish people, or that anyone can build a house where God, the essence of God, reveals himself. The only explanation is because God gave the Jews a special power. And he gave them this power at Mount Sinai. And the Jews at Mount Sinai, all the Jews became gold. At Mount Sinai, all the Jews became gold. What does this exactly mean? We'll talk about it in a moment. But gold is a special material that's not like anything else. Gold. And it's hinted at by the first letters, Zion, the initial Zion A base, Zeh Noten Bori. It's one of three ways of giving charity. One way of giving charity is hinted at by the initials of the word Nechoshet, copper, which means giving charity when you're sick to save yourself. Better than that is giving charity when there's an impending danger, but the danger has not come yet. That's we'll learn about that. That's indicated by the letters of Kesef. But Zenoten Bari, when a person gives charity, because he's totally healthy and there's nothing to worry about whatsoever, and he's just giving because he wants to give to others, that's indicated by gold. That's what gold, and that's what every Jew became at Mount Sinai. The Jewish people became a holy nation at Mount Sinai. They became gold, and we'll see what this means. When God in the Torah, Mona, he lists the donations that the Jews are going to bring, he begins with gold. Why? Because this expresses not only the importance of gold on its own, without any connection to the temple or connected to the donations to the temple, but this expresses the chashivut, the importance and the milason and the highness of a Jew. Rishon, that the first thing and the most important thing of a person's possessions, and therefore of his donations to the temple, was gold. Why? Because gold is the most expensive and important thing of all. Gold. But we see that there's a gold-based currency. It's a Shekain Mitziuton Shel Yehudi, because the only existence of a Jew after the giving of the Torah is such, Shafilu Biyoto, even when a Jew is very low in this physical world, Shabozakukim, that we need silver and copper, and even if we need more in quantity of silver and copper, Azai Lakala Rosh, then who Ashir Be'etzim, excuse me, then if a person has gold, then he is rich, truly rich. Ben Melech, like the king, son of a king. and even more, Melech Atzmo becomes a king himself. Shemetziuto, that his whole existence is of a Jew, is the most expensive and precious thing, gold. Gold is Zeh Anoten Bari, one who gives charity when he's for no reason. He's totally healthy. He's not doing it for himself at all. Excuse me. Anoten, a Jew gives gam kafish and salamata, even when how the Jew is here in this world, betachlit tashlemot briut, complete health in physical and spiritual. Then he's thinking about others, and even more. Notice, in addition to this, shakdam is a zav, that the preceding gold, this expresses the highness of a Jew in general. But also, this is relevant especially to how a Jew building the temple. The power to do this comes by means of a Jew. Also, even a Jew, as he is found down in the world, a Jew is still Elyonim. A Jew is always different. A Jew is always connected to God. When we're talking about this tabernacle, that the Jewish people, they donated to the tabernacle, as then there is silver and there is also copper. As far as the building of it, silver and copper, they had an advantage over gold. First of all, in quantity, there were more copper and silver used. In quantity, and also in substance. They were more necessary for the building of the tabernacle. But when it's talking about the Jewish people that they make, if you're just talking about the building itself, then silver and gold could be more important. Silver and copper could be more important. But if you're talking about the Jews making it, then the contribution of the Jews, first of all, we begin with gold. Because a Jew, even though he is below, this is gold. And therefore, at the Mishkan Lashem, therefore he can make a tabernacle for God. Only the Jewish people could make this tabernacle. Now that's this idea what the Rebbe wants to say, that the Jewish people are chosen. The Jewish people are not the chosen people because the rabbi said so, or because Moses made it up. The Jewish people happen to be God's chosen people. That's the fact. It's like man is different than an animal. Why is he different than an animal? He's better? He's not better. He's just different. A man can learn ideas. An animal can't learn books. It's a difference. In fact, the difference between the Jews and the non-Jews is greater than the difference between a man and an animal. But it's not a measurable difference that you can see. A man and an animal, you can measure. Animals can run faster. A person can think better, play chess better, whatever. What's the difference between a Jew and a non-Jew? Spiritually, you can't see it. You have to have a person like a tzaddik to tell us. Jews seem exactly like non-Jews. You could take a heart transplant from a non-Jew, make it into a Jew. Nevertheless, the Rebbe says that Jews are different from everybody else, just like gold is different from silver and copper. Silver and copper are also, practical, and they're also valuable, but it's not like gold. Gold is different. Yes, and therefore, only the Jews can receive the Torah, and only the Jews can build the temple. This is a hard reality for a lot of people to accept. And it seems to be impossible for some people to accept. But gradually, especially now, in the world, it's becoming more and more accessible. I mean, the rise now of anti-Semitism in the world for absolutely no reason. No one can understand it. And especially because the vilifying of the Jews, it comes together with the justifying of the Hamas, which, according to all opinions, have never contributed anything to the world. They've never contributed anything to anything, except for building tunnels or something. And so little by little, the Jews are starting to come to the awareness that what's going on over here? Maybe the Jews really are different. I mean, there's no logic behind this whole business. Says the Rebbe, you're right. It's the same thing. There's no logic why gold is better, more valuable than silver and copper. Silver and copper are also valuable, and it could be that they're even more practical. But there's something special about gold. And that's what happened with the Jewish people at Mount Sinai. We can say, this is also the reason that the Jewish people were riboy zav v'kesef. That's why the Jews had a lot of gold and silver. There was more gold and silver, I'm sorry. This comes from their high quality, shemitzad etzem inyanim mashirim, because Jews are supposed to be, essentially, they're supposed to be rich. That's the nature of a Jew, is he's supposed to be rich spiritually. They already are spiritually, in the level of gold. Therefore, comes also from this, that the Jews are rich spiritually, that they're rich physically. Riboy Yazav, a lot of gold. According to this Yumtuk, we can also understand what it says in Parshas Vayakel, Machlokas, an argument of the Torah, and Machlokas of the Torah, at Nidvas Azav, but Nidvas Akesef and Achoshet, but base Pesukim. Why is it when the Torah commands, excuse me, when the Torah details about the gold and the silver and the copper, there's two separate sentences. It says Vayavo Anashim al Anashim, and that the men came secondary to the women. Call Nidve Lev, call Nediv Lev. Heviu says Chok v'Nezem, call Kli Zahav. Says first of all that the women brought gold, and then the men also brought. Call ish a person asher henif tenufa zav l'Hashem, and it says every man according to the gold that he brought. Then two sentences afterwards it says, when it talks about what was actually brought to the tabernacle, the other items, it says kol mirim trumas Hashem kesef u'nechoshet. Later on, when it talks about the donations, it doesn't mention gold. It mentions separately silver and copper. Kafisha Ramban, like the Maimonides, like Nachmanides, Ramban, he explains, because it mentions the women, the Elam Kesef and Achoshes. It doesn't talk about the women that didn't have silver and copper. They only had gold in their jewelry, because gold is a totally different type of a quality than silver and copper and all the other things, all the other precious things that they brought. Even these stones, the precious stones. We'll talk about the stones in a moment. Gold indicates al shleimuto shel kol echad. Gold indicates more than anything else the wholeness and completeness of every single Jew, man and woman. But Yeshlom, we can say that therefore gold was by both of them, also by the women, shelo hayu lahem kesef v'nechoshes, and also by women that didn't have any silver or copper, but they had gold. Gold was by everybody, because gold is something special, something precious, something different. Alpi says, and that's the same thing as the Jews. The Jews are something special, something different. And their difference is that they have, like gold, they have a desire, a burning desire to benefit the world. Every single Jew has a burning desire to give, to make the world a better place. And we see a lot of times Jews got all confused about this thing, but nevertheless, even non-religious Jews and the anti-religious Jews, in fact, one of the reasons for the anti-religious Jews is in order to be practical, to fix up the world, to do something in the world. The religious Jews, they're not doing anything. They're just sitting around learning the Torah. That's not been. Okay, the fact of the matter is like we just finished learning that learning the Torah is a tremendous benefit to the world. That's benefiting the world. Okay, but nevertheless, regardless of the people's the value of the Torah, but the essence of what a Jew is that he wants to give. Jews, it says, are Gamili Chasadim. They enjoy giving. They enjoy it. So it says that's present by every Jew. That's the gold. Zanotin Bori. According to this, will be also understood the connection between the month of Adar that we're beginning this month now, and Behektim Al Davar Gemara. The Gemara says this month of Adar, this month that we're in now, Bari Mazli. It says that it is a healthy spiritual month. Bari Mazli, how do you say the mazel of this month? The spiritual influence of this month is healthy. Mishal Tashala, we can ask a question. How is Adar? Why is it a healthy month? Razal, the rabbis say, Ein Mazel l'Yisrael. It says that it's a lucky month for the Jewish people. Mazel. The word mazel also means like one of the astrological configurations, the zodiac or whatever, right? The zodiac. And I don't know if you know, but there's a thing called astrology. Astrology is that according to where the stars are and the planets are, according to where they are in the sky, according to the different zodiac signs, that's the mazalot are called the zodiac signs. Excuse me, that corresponds to the person and to the spiritual powers that are working now. If it's a lucky month for that person, a lucky day for that person, a lot of newspapers have the zodiac of the day, the astrology of the day. This is a good day for you to do this, a good day for you to do that. Right? Jewish people are not supposed to make any decisions in the future according to astrology, even though astrology is valid to a very great extent. It is certainly valid to a great extent, not 100%, but to a sufficient extent that a lot of people rely on it and they're not disappointed. Jews are not supposed to rely on it. Jews are not supposed to rely on the zodiac. Not supposed to rely on the zodiac. So it says, why in mazel Yisrael? There's no mazel for the Jewish people. Jewish people are not controlled by spiritual things, by how it is in the Zohar and this. Here we see a good example. The Jewish people, Purim, the Jewish people had all partaken from the meal. Yeah, they all partook. Anyway, they took part in the meal that Achashverosh made, commemorating the end of Jewish hope that there's going to be a third temple or a second temple. Like that was waiting for the second temple. The redemption. According to Achashverosh, there was supposed to be 70 years of exile, and the 70 years had ended. All of his necromancers and his sorcerers and his astrologers all told him the same thing. Your Majesty, you got nothing to worry about. The 70 years that was prophesied by the Jewish prophets that the Jews are going to be in exile, it's over, and the Jews are not going to get a second temple, for sure not a third temple. That's it. And all the Jews said, "Oh, really? If so, let's try to make friends with the king." And the king said, "You don't have to be friends with me. I want to be friends with you. You're all invited to my meal." And all the Jews were really happy. And they went to the meal. It was a 6-month meal, 6-month meal feast. And the Jews, they were even given kosher food. They all sinned. The Jews all sinned. So that wrecks any chance of salvation for the Jewish people. They were all abject, terrible sinners. And nevertheless, Ein Mazel Yisrael, the Jewish people are not affected by the stars or what they do. And God made this big miracle despite all the sins of the Jews and despite all of this and that. And all the spiritual the damage that the Jews had done and the catastrophes, spiritual and Jewish catastrophes they made for themselves, and they dug their own grave and etc. All of a sudden, everything flipped around, and forgetting about the mazzles and forget about the luck, nothing. That's it. All the Jews, all of a sudden, it says, Ein mazel Israel. There's no mazel for the Jewish people. Jews. So how can we say that the month of Adar is a good mazel for the Jews? There is no mazel for the Jews. Jews don't have any mazel. The Jews are only, they shouldn't be looking at the zodiac and at the months and at the stars. We have no business with it. What do we care about that? We are only connected to God, right? Wrong. Here it says that the month of Adar is a good month. And it's a month we have to look at the month and that the configuration of the constellations, etc. and the time of the year were affected by that. That's exactly the opposite of what I said in the beginning of the sentence. Yeah. Says so it says there's no mazel to the Jewish people. There is no. The Jewish people are not affected by the zodiac or the stars or astrology. L'chiora first learned. So how can we be affected by this month? And this month it says is a good mazel. Mazel. It says l'chiora. Maybe we can say like this. Al pi divrei Rashi, according to what Rashi said, that Rashi says in Mazel Yisrael that the Jewish people have not got any mazal. They haven't got any effect. They're not affected by the zodiac. The al yadei tefillah, by means of prayer, says Rashi, by means of prayer, and any sort of merits, mishtaneh, we can change our bad luck, our bad mazal to good. Hainu, namely, B'nai Yisrael, that the Jewish people, they do have a mazel. What is the mazel? We just said they didn't, but they do have mazel. They're affected. If they do bad things, then that's bad for them. But by means of something which is higher, namely prayer or merit, yochel mazlum, we can change the spiritual flow that comes into the world. Instead of being bad, it'll be good. That's a good explanation by Rashi. Says the Rebbe, but that's not sufficient. Ein said, this is not sufficient regarding the month of Adar. Why? When it says that the month is a lucky month, it means simply not by means of what we do, our prayers or our merits. It's a good month. But what? The mazel itself, the month itself, the zodiac of that month, right? The configuration, the spiritual words of the constellations, that's good. We just finished saying that the Jewish people aren't affected by the stars at all. Not that we can change it for good. Here it says that we're not affected at all. Okay. It says we're not affected at all. So how can we be affected for good? Not for good and not for bad. We're just here, and it depends on how we act to God. That's how God acts with us, right? And maybe sometimes we can change it and we change for good. It's just how we act. That's all. It's not a matter of the mazel. So the Rebbe says, "Oh yes, it is. We'll see." The explanation is like this: the month of Adar itself is a lucky month. Jews are above luck. And so how can Adar be a lucky month? But Etzem, essentially, because of its source, the source of the Jewish people, the essence of the Jewish soul, Einam Klal Tachat Shlita Mazalat. The essence of the Jews are connected with the Creator. Like it says, Al Derech Hagoyim Al Telmadu. Don't learn to do what the non-Jews do. The Otot Shamayim Al Tachtou. Don't follow after the signs of heaven. Ki Yachtu Hagoyim Mehema, because the non-Jews, they follow after these things. It's a sentence in Jeremiah. The non-Jews, they follow after these things. If so, what's the novelty of a Jew? The Jew is, even as the Jew is in this world, a soul in the body, in a natural physical world, and his body, a Jewish body, is exactly the same as a non-Jewish body. So it seems. And namely, what does it mean? That they are tachat under the influence of the stars and the constellations, just like everybody. It says Jews do have a mazel, yes, they do, and they are influenced by the stars, yes. What does it mean that there is no influence to the Jews? What does it mean? This is a matzav the ein mazel Israel. Even when the Jews are affected by the stars and the constellations, they're not affected by the constellations. How can that be? What does it mean? A Jew has, by means of his prayer and his merit, to change the mazel for good. This is only mitzad koach elyon, from a higher power, not the mazel on its own. The novelty of the month of Adar is even more than this. Okay, let's just go back to this. What's we're saying? Let's say you have the king of a country, and he sends his son out in the world to get experience. So the son is in the world, and he meets up with people, and he has to get money, and he has to get a job, and he has to get a this, right? So therefore, he is under the influence of the world, right? Whatever the world is, and whatever the laws are, and whatever people say, and whatever his friends are, so he's under the world. But anytime the son wants to, he can say, "Okay, game's over. I'm the son of the king." Oh, the son of the king. That's it. It changes the whole thing, right? So then a Jew, the same thing with a Jew. A Jew is in the world because God put us here, and we're like the son of the king. We're under the influence of the world. But any second we want to, we can say, "Hey, I'm the son of the king," and we go out, right? So, says the Rebbe, okay, that's very nice. That's true. That's like what Rashi said. But here we're saying that the month itself is a good mazel for the Jews. What does that mean? I thought the Jews could at any time, the Jews essentially are above mazel. So it says like this. The month of Adar, afilu kafish Yehudi, even the way a Jew is, a single Jew, the way he is in this world, and he is totally under the influence of the stars and the zodiac and the world, just like everybody else. And he's in this world, Isle Dina Bahari Nachri. And all of a sudden he has a court case with a non-Jew, As Ad until Shebachodesh Av, and it says in the month of Av, don't do any litigation in the month of Av. If he has a court case, then and it's the court case comes on the month of Av, try to get it changed. Because it's not a lucky month of where the temple was destroyed. But in the month of Adar, it says that the mazel is good. Immediately when the month comes in, without any work on the part of the Jew, the mazel itself is healthy. Until that even a non-Jew can see and feel this. And Yesh Lahosif, we can even add on, Alpi Pirush, like we said before, the Ein Mazel Yisrael, that there's no mazel Israel. It doesn't mean in mazel Israel that the Jewish people do have a mazel. They are affected by heaven. And what is their mazel? Not what is Aries and Taurus and Sagittarius, and no, their mazel is Ayin. Bittel is the God Himself. Hachirush b'davar, the novelty is that this is kachu lorak lamaila, not only above, but by the mazel, that there's no mazel by the Jews, but even how it's drawn down below in the world. A Jewish people, even in natural things, like we said before, the 6-day war, we have to have an army. We have an army, and the army is functional, and they have missiles, they have guns, they have this, that. We're outnumbered 10-1. Okay, but we're good soldiers. We have really good soldiers, right? There's these movies where one person beats up 10 people, right? It happens in this world. It says, but when the Jewish people have an army, or when a Jewish person has a business, or whatever, you can see that when, even in the physical world, that it doesn't go according to the laws of nature. Shagam kafiya Yehudi, even the way that a Jew is found below in this physical world, the Isle Dina Vaynachri, Hari Mazel, the Mazel is ayin. You can see godliness in this world. Isn't that the whole thing of the Holy Temple? What do you have to have a Holy Temple for? A building where it's all these details in this building. That's where God is revealed. God is revealed. You sit on a mountain somewhere and you fast. You don't eat anything. You have no connection with the world. And that's godliness, right? Says, no, it's not so. A Jew, even when he's in the world and he has a family and he has children and he has troubles and he has problems and he has debts to pay and he has obligations to make, says even there you can see the ayin, you can see the essence of God. And here it reveals itself in the month of Adar. The month itself becomes a godly month, a lucky month, lucky in physical things. Like it says before, that the true will of every Jew is l'kayim et ratzon Hashem, to do what God wants. Ad shezeh mitbateh, until it's revealed b'kach shabori mazli, that the Jew wants his physical life to be according to what God wants, until finally it's even revealed in the month. Mazlo hu bori, that is, the mazel is healthy, v'chazak, and it's strong even in physical things, even among the non-Jews. So now we can understand the connection of the month of Adar to Parshat Truma, to this week's Torah portion. The Midbar in the desert, Benidvas Vasiyas Mishkan, in the donations and the making of the tabernacle. Let's just make a short resume of what we set up to now. What are we talking about? And the novelty of the Jewish people is to make this physical world a holy place. And it should still remain physical. That there should still be money, and that there should still be families, and that there should still be clothes, and there should be cars, and everything should be exactly the way it is. The world should be a normal, functioning world with money, with houses, with families, with the nations and races, and science and music. Everything should be a normal world. But everyone in the world should see that this is the way that God wants it. It's God's world. It's not our world. Not the music, and not the cars, and not the money, and not the science. None of it is ours. It's all a big miracle. And everything becomes a miracle. That's the job of the Jewish people. And the Jews, they're the ones first. Even when they're in the physical world, they show that the physical world itself is made to reveal God, is miraculous. And that's the month of Adar. The month of Adar is a physical world, a physical time, a physical month under the laws of nature. The month comes in when the moon starts to grow, right? The month ends when the moon is finished. There's no moon. It's a normal, under the laws of nature, of time, of astronomy. It's a normal, regular month, and the Jews are a normal, regular people. And in this normal month, and the normal people, is revealed that it's not normal at all. It's pure miracles and gifts. And that's the Jewish people reveal it first, that even this month, that's the whole idea of gold. That's the connection of the month of Adar to Truma. In the month of Truma, in the month of Adar, the Jewish people are revealed to be special in this physical world. The same thing is the Truma of the Holy Temple, the tabernacle, the Jew, as he is above in the upper worlds. And similar, how he is a Jew in the physical world is found also in this world, even his physical possessions in this world is gold. Zeh anotein bari, the desire to give in a healthy way. Excuse me, not for my own benefit. And this gives the power that the month of Adar, when in the month of Adar, when we finish the building of the tabernacle, and afterwards the building of the temple in the 7 days of the Miluim, at the end of the month of Adar, in Chavti Yemel Adar to Rosh Chodesh Nisan, was Buri Mazel. When did the tabernacle start to excuse me? When did the tabernacle actually begin work in the desert? Right, the Jewish people got out of Egypt, and they got the Torah 50 days later, and they got out of Egypt on the 15th day of Nisan. On the first day of Nisan, the next year, almost 1 year later, 2 weeks short of a year, the tabernacle started working. The first day of Nisan. That's when it was really open for business. First day of Nisan. It says the first day of Nisan, that's when it was open for business. Well, so when was it built? It was built before that. So that was the whole month of Adar. In the month of Adar, they built it and they finished the building the last day of Adar. That's what it says. It was finished, the 7 days of the inauguration finished on the month of Adar from the 23rd day of Adar until the Rosh Chodesh Nisan. That's what it means that the month is healthy. And so the month is healthy because that's when the tabernacle was built. That's when it was built. And also the main ingredient was gold. And that's the whole idea of the holy temple. And it all shows on the uniqueness and the goodness of the Jewish people to improve the world of a Jew. Shagam Kafi, the Jew, even when he is in Mazel, in this physical world, how it affects the physical world, nevertheless, it is bari, it is healthy. Zanote bari. So that's the whole idea of this whole entire Torah portion with the time that it's in Adar to make this world holy. The month of Adar becomes a godly month. Gold becomes a godly thing. The Jewish become a godly thing, Jewish people. The temple becomes godly. So the whole idea is to make this world a dwelling for God in this physical world, within time, within place, within money. And eventually it'll be spread out the whole world. That's what Moshiach is going to do, as we're going to talk about more, God willing, tomorrow. Now let's do the Yom Yom. That doesn't work.